Every man deserves to know their T-level. Step in a game day Men's Health Solon and get tested on us. No guesswork, no waiting, just real answers. Speaking of real answers, Bo, you teased it before we went to break, but Bleacher Report put out its list of the top 10 defenses for the upcoming season. And let's see how that list played out and discuss and debate whether or not the Browns are too high, too low, or just right. According to Bleacher Report, their top 10 defenses for the upcoming 2026 season: number 1, the Houston Texans; number 2, the Denver Broncos; the Los Angeles Rams at number 3; Seattle at 4; Philadelphia at 5; at number 6, you have the New England Patriots; the Chargers at number 7; the Vikings at 8; the Cleveland Browns come in at number 9 with new defensive coordinator Mike Rutenberg taking over, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars rounding out the top 10 at number 10. Guys, when you look at this list, number 9 for the Browns, too high, too low, just right?
I don't know.
Feels right to me. I think at its best, the Browns defense could be a top 5 unit. I think last year, given the circumstances, they played at an extremely high level. So obviously the mastermind of it, he didn't do it alone, but he earned his really large paycheck. Jim Schwartz is gone. Yeah. And Devin Bush, who had an outstanding season, is gone. And also Malik Collins was a big part of it before he got hurt. Yeah. Late in the season, he's coming back. He's an older guy. A healthy Malik Collins is a difference maker. So what stood out to me there is Seattle at number 4. They're kind of like, what else do we have to do? We just won the Super Bowl. Right? And they're bringing most of their guys
They're
back.
not even the favorites to win their division this year.
Yeah, that's the world. But the Browns have the pieces. Obviously Myles Garrett in a galaxy of his own. Denzel Ward still playing at a super high level. Delpit off of his best season. Like they have the pieces. They're a top 10 defense, and they'll have every chance to prove that they belong in the top 5.
I think that they do not have a talent problem, number 1. Their talent is there. Their issue is going to be, can they sustain a coaching transition? And the other thing that would add to this is, can they have an offense that can sustain some drives? Because if that happens, then all of a sudden your defense is going to be on the field a little bit less. It's going to help them be more motivated to play a little bit harder. You know that goes, especially in December. So the answer is absolutely they can be a top 5 defense again in 2026. But can they sustain having Rutenberg? Can he just you don't got to do much with these guys, because you got Schlesinger, you got Denzel Ward. You have an elite player at literally every level of the defense. Yeah. Plus Mason Graham inside, who's a top 5 pick. I mean, they've got decent guys.
Yeah, it's dynamics to me, right? Like, it just never clicked with the old coach, the head coach, defensively, you everybody was bought in on Schwartz. Yes. Right? And everybody knows and respects Myles Garrett, and everybody knows that Denzel Ward is perfect attendance and busting his butt. Well, now you have all these assistant coaches back and almost everybody back, but you have a new guy at the front of the room. Yeah. And he brought in one linebacker, but nobody else has played for him. Right? And Myles is Myles, and Grant Delpit's deal is up, and they drafted a second-round safety. The dynamics are different, and this team just has not handled these dynamics well. There's one time they did, and that's when Joe Flacco came in for 1 month off the couch, and it was like, let's go. But through the years, this team has not handled things well, and we don't know what's happening with Myles Garrett. Yeah. So Myles Garrett was very loyal to Jim Schwartz, as he should have been. He had his best seasons. Jim Schwartz came out and squashed all the talk last year about Myles this and Myles that by saying Myles is going to have his best year, and Myles did it. But Jim Schwartz took his ball, went home, cried on the way out. He's not here, but most of his assistants are, most of his players are. So the dynamics are really an interesting thing here.
Here's what I know. Mike Rutenberg might be a good defensive coordinator, but he's not as good as Jim Schwartz today.
No.
There's no way he could be.
No.
Jim Schwartz is one of the best defensive coordinators in football. There's no debating that. And Mike Rutenberg's never been a defensive coordinator. So there's no way he can be as good a coach. Now, you guys have said it. They have a ton of talent. They have a superstar at every level. And Schlesinger's got to do it again before we call him a superstar.
Yeah, but he
played like a superstar as a rookie.
He sure did.
But we know Myles Garrett's the best defensive football player in the game, and we know how good Denzel Ward is. But defense is harder to predict year to year than offense is.
It is.
Like with offense, if you have a good quarterback, your offense is going to be good, for the most part, with rare exceptions. With defense, you just never know. The chemistry changes. One guy leaves. A coach leaves. Mm-hmm. As good as Myles Garrett is, he can't do it alone. He doesn't need to because they got good talent. But with offense, it's just so dependent on the quarterback. Whereas defense, it's dependent on the whole, so there's more players to ebb and flow it.
And this is credit to Schwartz, to Myles, to Schlesinger, to all of them. The way that they continued to perform last year when the offense gave them almost no help was admirable.
I think you're being nice saying almost no help.
But can you repeat that if it's a similar
Right.
situation?
It's so hard. But they've
hard.
done it, and they've done it really for 2 years. I mean, for 2 years.
Sure. But they were way better last year than they were in 24.
All right, fair. Yeah, true.
And especially consistently. Like, I can remember one.
No. I mean well, that's true. You're right. I meant the offense stunk for 2 years, but you're right. The defense wasn't as good in 24.
I can remember like 2 clunkers from the defense.
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
And when you grade that against the offense that had 13 clunkers, like that's pretty wild.
I mean, let's face it. For the last 3 years, outside of the Flacco getting off the couch, the offense has been hideous. And yet the defense, 2 of those 3 years, has been amongst the best in the league. The third year, they were, okay. And how many years can you keep doing that?
I think what we don't talk enough about, like Quinshon Judkins has to be healthy and he has to be good.
Yes.
I have no doubt that he's going to be good. I don't think we've seen enough to say great. And some of that
I
goes
agree.
to the offense around him.
Yeah.
But like when people talk about what's the path to the Browns, like being better, to like being a playoff contender, playing significant games. It's really running the ball and shrinking the game and then turn it over and letting the defense be dominant. That's what it is. And behind Judkins, there's guys that can play, but there's nobody that's going to carry the mail.
Well, and the other good thing too is like Munkin understands complementary football. And I think he, being from Baltimore, spending time there with Harbaugh, like he gets it. Like if they can run the ball and they can sustain some of those drives, like he wants to win football games, and he knows what it takes to win in this league. So that's what's exciting. And you're right. I mean, Judkins, fingers crossed. This guy, he looked so good before he got hurt.
Yeah, he's explosive.
I'm a little surprised they haven't done anything at running back, just because he's coming off an injury, and the other guys are not like. In Baltimore, obviously you had Lamar who was running, and you had Henry the last couple of years, but they rotated like some other solid guys over the years between Hill and what's his name, who was always hurt but
Keaton
was good.
Mitchell.
Huh?
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell,
and I'm forgetting somebody else.
Yeah, well, I think it's just lack of options, Bull.
Yeah,
they had to use their capital in other places.
Yeah,
and
you can always go get a guy who was an All-Pro 7 years ago. Who's out there? There's a bunch of guys.
There's going to be
veterans
guys that are out there if you need one.
Well, I said bring Nick Chubb back.
Dylan Sampson was the youngest player in the NFL last year. I mean, he's a third down back, but they think like he can do it. Like he can make.
But
plays
he couldn't be if Judkins is not healthy.
No.
You can't give him the ball.
No,
he's a 5'7" touch guy.
That's why they're
right?
keeping Rocket Sanders. That's why they made the move for Rocket Sanders. They claimed him last year in late August. He actually scored the first rushing touchdown of the year because Judkins didn't sign until the day before the first game.
Yeah.
But so they had 3 guys who were rookie running backs because Jerome Ford just fell off the map. I thought Jerome Ford was a good football player in years 2 and 3, and he gave you nothing.
Is he even on a team?
The Washington signed him. Oh. So, but that's the formula is this: load up on tight ends, run the ball, turn it up, put the defense in advantageous situations, and hope that it produces that way. Because if they get left on the field like that again, they're just not going to match those numbers. They're not.
If Judkins is not healthy this year, they got a big problem.
That's right.
They got a big problem because their passing game, even with obviously we assume much improved wide receivers and a great young tight end, the quarterback is such a huge question mark. They can't be one-dimensional and win.
And the quarterback is in the spotlight for very valid reasons.
Yeah.
But if this offense takes a leap, it's good to great for Judkins, and then obviously you help him with defense, with play calling, with just a little bit of competent quarterback play to allow him to get in those great situations where he's running to salt away leads.
Right. If you want this, I know that Earl and Tyvis are very optimistic about the Browns season. If they're going to reach these lofty, optimistic goals, which I think are unlikely, it's got to be, you're right, Judkins has got to be great. Concepcion's got to be at least very good right away. Mm-hmm. And whoever the quarterback is has to at least be serviceable. I'm not even asking them to be good. I'm just saying be serviceable.
I mean, Dustin, you played this game at a high level. When you're on defense and you know that you can trust in your offense, your mentality is different.
100%.
Right? Like you don't feel like we have to make a play to win the game right here. Like we can just do our thing.
Listen, I'm going to make a tennis equation here, okay? Sometimes I have a doubles partner who just can't really move, or they just can't, maybe they have a hard time handling certain things, and there's a lot more on my plate. And
you talk trash?
No,
move it,
you
fat
try
ass.
to be a good partner, but I'm saying sometimes you just know you got to do more, and it becomes frustrating. And then sometimes you're in a match and you're like, I'm a good player, but my partner sucks, and then you just are like, I'm just going to lose. We're going to lose today. Yeah. And I think football players can have that feeling too, because the offense, if they don't pull their weight, all of a sudden that morale on the defensive side of the ball, you start looking around, it's like, well, Myles Garrett took that play off. Okay, well, I guess I'll take this play off.
Anything, talk about this lofty optimism talk.
Yeah.
Anything more than 5 wins is that for them.
Yes.
Now, you can have it, like, if these are good young players, the temperature can be a lot different a year from now.
Yeah.
But realistically, anything more than 5 wins is crazy level of optimism. And that would be success on some level. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
But it would be more in the win column. It would probably mean you had more good young players. But, like, these guys that are talking about winning the division are out of their minds.
Yeah, obviously we'd like.
Love you, Earl.
Yeah.
They're not winning 9 games.
Obviously, a perfect scenario is that Shedeur Sanders develops into a legit starting quarterback.
Yes.
That would be great. Outside of that, if at the end of the season we're saying, okay, they only won 5-6 games, but man, it looks like we have everything but the quarterback. Now you need the quarterback, otherwise it's never going to come.
Sure.
But that is not the worst situation for this team.
Because if you win 7 and don't have the quarterback,
Yeah.
then you either have to trade an entire draft or Myles Garrett to have a chance to get
Right.
that quarterback who's going to be 21.
Right.
To have a chance.
Yeah.
Because if these quarterbacks are as good as they think, then no one's trading out of spot 1, 2, and 3.
That's true.
They're just not.
Yeah.